Hello and welcome to AI Marketing, where we explore AI and innovations shaping tomorrow or today. And today is today. Has been announced a Neo, the new humanoid robot from 1X Technologies. This isn't sci-fi anymore, folks. This is a real robot butler you might soon see in homes. And we're going to chat about this and where Neo came from and why it's so remarkable and how it stacks up against robots like Tesla's Optimus and Boston Dynamics humanoids, and what it all means for marketers, entrepreneurs, and any of us, really. I mean, from a consumer point of view and from anyone that thinks their jobs can be taken from a robot. So grab a coffee and imagine a future where coming home means saying, "Hey, Neo, fold the laundry and plan dinner." And it just happens. Sounds wild? Let's explore. Is this thing real? So to understand Neo, you need to understand 1X Technologies, formerly Haladi Robotics. This company started in Norway way back in 2014, founded by roboticist Bernt Øyvind Bornok. Sorry, I probably didn't pronounce that correctly, but I did my best. In its early days as Haladi, the team focused on core robotics tech, like safe actuators, motion control, basically the building blocks for robotics. They even built a wheeled robot called Eve around 2018 for jobs like security and logistics. Now, fast forward to 2022, Haladi rebranded to 1X and set its sights on a more ambitious goal: humanoid home robots. This pivot attracted serious investors. Even an OpenAI startup fund jumped in to back the vision of these helpful household androids. And if you haven't seen at least their promo videos, you should. So enter Neo, the culmination of that vision unveiled in late 2024 and revised and refined through 2025. Neo is touted as the world's first consumer-ready humanoid robot destined to transform life at home. In October 2025, now basically when we recorded this, 1X announced they're taking pre-orders for Neo, calling it the safest, most affordable, and most capable humanoid on Earth. We'll get into that. It's a bold claim, right? But 1X truly believes humanoid robots are moving from science fiction to everyday life. And as CEO Bornich put it, humanoids were a thing of sci-fi, then a thing of research, but today with Neo, humanoid robots became a product. That's a quote from him. And that's what regular people could actually interact with. So think of 1X as a sort of Tesla of robots, a startup with big dreams and big funding, aiming to put a robot in your home, like a car in every garage. They even have set up headquarters in Palo Alto and manufacturing in California and Norway, scaling up to build potentially hundreds of thousands of Neos in the coming years. That's the backdrop. A company with nearly a decade of R&D and now is ready to deliver a home assistant that walks on two legs. And let me just say at this point, if they realize this, then all the timelines for what I've said about robots 5 years from now, truly taking jobs, I've just moved them up too. But let's see if this thing works. So what makes Neo remarkable? Why all the buzz about Neo? In a word, its capability. Neo isn't just a cute toy. We've all seen them. They used to come out of Japan. And it's not a one-trick robot. It's a general-purpose humanoid designed for the real world of your home. It stands about human height, a short human height. I think it's like 66 pounds and 5'4". So it does, it looks like it's just fabric around it. It's got little shoes. It's not a scary sci-fi machine in your living room. In fact, what I'm reading is 1X deliberately avoided the cold, metallic sci-fi look and says, the CEO, Bornich, says they went for something relatable and soft, influenced by Scandinavian design to make Neo a comfortable companion at home. One of the robots even sat down on the couch next to him during testing, which he said completely shifted the perspective of interacting with a machine. It starts to feel less like a tool and more like an oddly helpful roommate. And its design was intentional. It looks like it's just wrapped in this soft fabric, maybe because you're supposed to be touching it a lot or it's going to touch you. We'll see. But under the hood, Neo is packed with tech that makes it very game-changing. It has a tendon-driven motor system, basically high-torque motors with tendon-like transmissions, giving its limbs a smooth human-like movement. And I'd say, yeah, maybe a little bit, but it's slow. But so what if it's going to do this and work 24/7? So that means it can be as strong and gentle. How strong? They're claiming Neo can lift over 150 pounds and carry about 55 pounds in its arms. So imagine piggybacking your full-grown dog upstairs or hauling a basket of laundry. Neo claims it can handle it, but it's also safe. Those tendon drives make its motions compliant, like it won't crush your hand by accident, and the whole body is covered in a soft 3D lattice material as a cushion. It's even quiet, running at about 22 decibels, quieter than a modern refrigerator. So Neo won't be whirring loudly as it tidies up at midnight, but it might be sneaking up on you and scaring the living daylights out of you. I don't know. I don't know how loud 22 decibels are. So another standout feature is Neo's hands. It has 22 degrees of freedom in its fingers, approaching human-level dexterity. That's a big deal. Many robots can't handle delicate tasks, but Neo's hands are designed to pick up clothes, fold and grip dishes, use tools, you name it. Combined with its fully mobile torso and legs, it can do things like climb stairs, reach high shelves, or crouch to pick something up off the floor. And some of the demos I saw showed it jogging, even running at 7.5 miles per hour. I don't know if that's the addition they're putting out here, but I saw it. Essentially, from my perspective, Neo is built to navigate our world, the same doors, floors, and objects we use. And critically, Neo is autonomous to a point. It comes outfitted with an array of sensors, cameras, depth sensors, mics, an onboard AI brain to understand the environment. In fact, it runs a built-in large language model like ChatGPT style intelligence for conversation. You could talk to Neo in normal language and it'll respond and help you. I guess, you can ask it, where's my blue shirt? It can actually look around and answer. It has what 1X calls audio intelligence, to know where and when you're speaking to it. Visual intelligence to recognize context, for example, seeing ingredients on your kitchen counter, suggesting a recipe. It also has episodic memory, so it remembers past interactions and preferences. So in short, Neo, to me, looks like it's an AI assistant, but with a robot body and a super intelligent one with the built-in LLM, and more like a screen-free Alexa with arms and legs, but it better be better than Alexa. So they do have a current skills and an app store for robots, which I think is the killer feature here. Out of the box, Neo's skill set covers a lot of ground. The team at 1X has trained it on everyday chores. So you can give Neo a to-do list, vacuum the living room, load the dishwasher, fold the laundry, and schedule it for any time you want, say 3 p.m. So maybe when you're out of the house. So when you come home, the chores are done. It can also do tasks on demand, like, Neo, please fetch me a snack, or Neo, turn off the lights. From day one, it knows how to open doors for guests, fetch items, and turn off the lights at night. Those basic house helper moves. And I bet you eventually it'll be just plug into the house system and do all this automatically. And then it can also handle your personal assistant duties like managing your calendar, taking notes, or teaching you a language lesson, all through natural conversation. So like ChatGPT's audio, if you haven't tried that, that's a must. Probably act as your therapist, I would imagine. But what about tasks Neo doesn't know how to do yet? And this is where things get interesting, and where 1X's approach feels a little bit like an app store for robot skills. The robot will continually learn new abilities through software updates and practice, almost like downloading new apps or skills over time. In fact, Tesla has hinted at a similar model for its Optimus robot. It envisions, from what I've seen, a marketplace where developers create specialized apps and skills for various tasks, like a Tesla Optimus skills store, and that's in my book as well. So it's good to see these guys doing that. Akin to an Apple App Store for robots, you download the app you need and the skill that you need. 1X hasn't formally announced a third-party app platform, but they have built-in mechanism for expanding Neo's talents. Basically, a tele-operations training where an expert comes in and trains the robot for you, for your specific needs. So for any chore Neo doesn't yet know, you can essentially install that skill by scheduling a 1X human expert to remotely guide Neo through the tasks. I just brought that up. And so if you picture a professional robot operator putting on a VR headset somewhere and seeing through Neo's cameras, they can control Neo to demonstrate, say, how to organize a particular messy closet or how to use your specific coffee machine. Neo watches and learns from these guided lessons. Bert Bornash, remember, he's the CEO, of 1X, told the Wall Street Journal that this teleportation is a temporary measure while the AI learns. In other words, early Neos come with a human-in-the-loop backup. You're not on your own if it gets confused by a new chore. Over time, as more people use Neo in their homes, the robot's AI model is constantly learning from all these experiences with appropriate privacy safeguards, which we're going to talk about shortly. Every Neo contributes data to a hive mind of sorts, so the whole fleet gets smarter and more autonomous as updates roll out. If you're not scared now, you should be. I'm kidding. I don't think these things are going to do us any harm. I think there'll be harmful ones in the future, but this is not going to be it. So it's a fascinating approach. Early adopters essentially train the robot for the masses. As one tech commentator that I saw quipped, at first you're paying $20K to be a beta tester and let the robot learn from your home, but that's not why Neo's price is high. It's not in the stratosphere of research robots, but the vision is one day you might download a new skill to your Neo, like downloading an app, perhaps a cooking skill developed by a chef, or a gardening skill developed by a landscaping company. And this open ecosystem could be huge, as one analyst noted. Billions of people and businesses have countless tasks that robots could learn, meaning lots of third parties could contribute to a robot app store in the future. It's easy to imagine a marketplace where you can buy a Neo bartender skill or a subscription for a Neo robot yoga instructor. That'd be pretty interesting. But in the here and now, Neo's abilities focus on household chores and personalized assistance. And by all accounts, it's already impressively capable for a first-generation consumer humanoid. A journalist from Fast Company who visited 1X's HQ described Neo as light enough to be carried around at 66 pounds, and a staff member literally picked it up and set it on a sofa to show how safe it is if it falls. And Neo's first real challenge will be proving it could handle actual homes, not just demo rooms. So starting in 2026, 1X plans to ship the first batch of Neos to early customers. The goal was 100 homes by the end of 2025 as a pilot, and then scale up production for wider availability. As these robots get off to work, they'll be learning on the job. Bornich openly acknowledges that these early units might not be perfect. Believe me, folks, they're not going to be. You're going to be paying to train them. But so what? You're an early adopter, and you're contributing to the advancement of society, in my mind. He said there might be some minor imperfections. There's going to be major imperfections. Don't kid yourself. Or robotic slop at first, definitely. But thanks to constant data collection and AI updates, he expects Neo's performance to improve drastically as more chores are attempted and mastered. So every time a Neo struggles and a human helps remotely, it's like the robot is in training. And over time, the need for teleoperators should diminish and Neo becomes more independent. Look at what they're doing with the Tesla full-service driving, right? It's going to be the same thing. It's taken years for Tesla to get this point with full-service driving, and I think the same thing will happen with these robots. It'll take years, but the early indications are that at least it'll be somewhat productive. So let's get on to privacy and security. These are the obvious concerns here. You're essentially letting a camera-quick robot roam your home and even allowing remote operators in under some circumstances. 1X says that they've built in protections and owners must approve any teleoperator sessions via the companion app and set a no-go zone in the house. Don't enter the bedroom or the bathrooms or anywhere where you need privacy. And then operators on 1X's end are vetted professionals, and they can't just jump into your robot uninvited or snoop around. I call bullshit on that, but they're claiming they're not going to. Additionally, any video data used to train the AI is anonymized, and 1X claims that the footage won't be accessible to employees without your consent. If this isn't in the legal language, I'd punt on this because you don't want very specific things about you getting out or, God forbid, government getting a hold of this. But Bornich likens the remote operations to hiring a house cleaner. You're inviting them in for a purpose, and they're monitored and bound by trust. Still, it's a new dynamic to have a robot that occasionally needs to phone a friend, a human. Who cares? I like that, actually, to get a task done. Not everyone will be comfortable with that at first, but 1X's bet is that as the robots get smarter, teleoperation will phase out, and you'll mostly be dealing with the Neo alone. A true autonomous helper. And you'll do that by getting the robot feedback, and as new skills come in from the Skills App Store, you'll have to probably personalize it just like you'd have to train a child, just like you'd have to train a human on how you want it done in your own home. So let's get into, Neo versus, the competitors. Okay, so the way I look at it is we could talk about humanoid robots, but we can't talk about them without mentioning some of the other players in the game. And the two comparisons that I like to show are Tesla's Optimus and Boston Dynamics' Atlas. And each of these projects has a different origin and long-term vision. Everyone knows Elon Musk's Tesla Optimus. It's still in the prototype phase, but Tesla has been hyping it since 2021. That's typical Elon. Hype, and then finally they deliver late. And Optimus's goal is a general-purpose bipedal, meaning it's going to walk, robot that could do unsafe, repetitive, or boring tasks, which overlaps a lot with Neo's mission. Musk has famously said Optimus will be worth more than the car business. I agree, by a lot more than Tesla's full-service driving. And so, in other words, he sees humanoid robots as a bigger market than the Tesla cars themselves, which I could not agree more. But, Musk imagines a world where Optimus units handle so much labor that it upends the job market. It will. And I have predicted 10 years, but, it might be sooner. And his goal is to free humanity from the drudgery of work, potentially making it so working is optional for people. And Tesla's approach leverages all its technology from self-driving cars. They're heavy on cameras and AI, probably Grok on board, right? Grok's pretty good. And in mid-2025, Tesla actually shifted its strategy to rely on video data and AI learning over the earlier plan of using motion capture suits or VR tele-operations for training. This mirrors their car strategy. Feed the AI tons of real-world video, like factory workers performing tasks, and have the robot learn by observation using neural networks and their Dojo supercomputer. It's a very AI-first approach, not surprising coming from the company with millions of auto-driving miles logged. They learned how to do this, folks. And then Tesla is also uniquely has the scale and manufacturing muscle when Optimus is ready. They want to produce it cheaply and by the millions. Musk hinted that Optimus units could eventually cost less than a car, maybe even well under $20,000 due to economies of scale. So, but, as of now, Optimus is lagging behind Neo in terms of visible capability, at least from what's been shown publicly. And Tesla has demoed Optimus walking slowly, picking up objects, and doing basic tasks in controlled environments. But some of the demos have looked clunky, even painfully sluggish, in my mind. And a recent video showed a so-called Optimus 2.5, that's version 2.5, with smoother actuators and a new design, but it still struggled with complex interactions and even a noticeable delay in AI responses. This Elon is going to fix, I guarantee you. It's a work in progress, but Elon is freaking relentless. This thing will be amazing in a year or two. Amazing. Now let's go to Boston Dynamics. Their version of their humanoid called Atlantis. If Tesla is the flashy newcomer, Boston Dynamics is a seasoned veteran of robots. We've all seen all of their robots, their dog robots. A lot of this is probably at the military. This is not things that, we see as consumers, but they have an Atlas consumer robot, and that's starting to experiment and grip and manipulate objects in more complex ways. And now Boston Dynamics is owned by Hyundai Motor Group, which I think, as long as Trump is president, that's going to be an issue. But with Atlas, the Boston Dynamics long-term goal is indeed a humanoid that could do a wide variety of jobs, but they admit it's hard. Mark Thiemann, BD's Boston Dynamics Chief Strategy Officer, said the goal is to create robots that can traverse complex environments, understand their surroundings, and manipulate objects with precision. Basically, do what humans do. But he also noted this vision would likely take the rest of the decade to fully realize. I would agree. It sounds like it's more of a military or athlete or things doing superpower type stuff. And we'll see if the Boston Dynamics gets there. Now, since our audience today includes marketers and entrepreneurs, let's talk about what humanoid robots like Neo mean for you. How could robots influence marketing, consumer behavior, service industries, or even content creation? First, let's consider marketing and consumer engagement. If humanoid robots can enter homes and public spaces, they can become a new channel for brands and services. Now, nobody wants advertising on their robot, but think about it. Neo is essentially a walking smart device, one that can see and converse with you naturally, knows you very, very well. And this opens the door to highly personalized interactions. For example, Neo might notice you're running low on milk and suggest a grocery store order. We've all heard this. Or it just sees how your life's progressing and offers some sort of supplement or something that you might not even know you need. But, the point here is its visual intelligence could recognize product packages or logos in your home and might be a ploy for us marketers, and I guarantee it will be, to make context-aware recommendations. For example, I see you have Folgers brand coffee. God, I'm aging myself there. Did you know they just launched a new roast? Shall I order a sample? And so, of course, this raises ethical questions about advertising with personal robots. It would need to be transparent and value-driven to avoid feeling intrusive, meaning you'd have to approve it. But the potential for personalized marketing is huge. A humanoid that chats with you could offer product advice in a friendly way because it knows you and your family. It would almost be like a butler who knows your preferences. And a recent study on human-robot interaction in retail found that if a robot is helpful and socially capable, consumers respond well to it. Interesting. They trust recommendations and engage more, provided it feels like the robot is genuinely assisting, not selling. Now, if you own the robot and the robot is supposedly working for you, then it should absolutely do that. It should also be on the flip side. Hey, you don't want that product. You're not going to like it type of thing, right? It should be both sides. So marketers have to understand that their brand might be shunned with these robots. And so let's go to the physical retail or service industries. Humanoid robots can literally embody a brand. Picture walking into a hotel and being greeted by a robot concierge that can check you in, answer questions, and even escort you to your room by carrying your bags. I think this will all be done pretty soon. It'll all be automated. And that's both service and marketing, right? It creates a kind of this brand image. And if a robot is representing that brand like the Four Seasons, think of all the things that it could do. It never gets angry. It can answer any questions about traveling around the area. It can book reservations all while it's walking you to your room, and it's not going to forget it. I mean, that's a brilliant idea for anyone listening in the hospitality field. And we've already seen some of this in stores and hotels. There's SoftBank's Pepper robot where it greets customers, or Hilton's Connie robot concierge. But humanoids like Neo could take it up a notch with more human-like presence and capability. And early evidence suggests, from my research, people find humanoid service robots novel and memorable. A bank in Japan saw an increase in foot traffic when they deployed a robot greeter simply because people were curious and found it fun. Now, these novelties, why it wear off. You guys know this as marketers. But it is a bit of an experience marketing win. And if you keep up in the game with these robots and make it fun and interesting, give them a personality, it could be game-changing. And so marketing could leverage that novelty for experimental campaigns. Kind of imagine a pop-up event staffed entirely by robots, or a humanoid robot as a spokesperson that does the product demos on camera perfectly, right? They're not subject to the whims of humans, and we're tired some days, we're forgetful other days. They just deliver it perfectly. And the gauging audience reaction, they get better and better. But that's a topic for another day. And speaking of content creation, robots are already stepping into this space too. Neo itself, by virtue of having an AI brain, could help create content. It can generate text or dialogue, perhaps brainstorm with you for a marketing campaign, or even write a jingle or a song, right? Or sing with you, karaoke. Never underestimate a robot with a large language model that's constantly being updated, is the way I look at it. And more directly, humanoid robots are becoming content stars. Just look at 1X's own marketing. They put Neo on a popular YouTuber's live stream. The YouTuber Show Speed, or I Show Speed, did a chaotic live stream with Neo, which grabbed a ton of attention online. That's both content and marketing, frankly. The robot became part of the show. And at one point, Neo was interacting with the YouTuber in an unpredictable way, making for viral clips. And so for marketers, this hints that robots can generate buzz. Early adopters who incorporate humanoids into their ads or social media will most likely draw eyeballs due to the sheer novelty. Again, this is early stuff. You remember all the YouTubers They come on early and they show new games or stuff like that. This stuff wears off, but you can keep it fresh. Not good. Another subject for another day. I got to write this one down. So we'll start seeing co-created content, a cooking show where the robot is the chef's helper, or a social channel run by an AI robot personality. There already are virtual influencers. You guys have heard about this. And a physical robot influencer could be next, will be next. But it can't be Neo, because everyone's got Neo. It's going to have to be a unique robot, in my opinion. In the entertainment industry, a humanoid like Neo could literally be an actor or host. It could speak, gesture, even emote to some extent. Neo's face is a blank slate with camera eyes, but future models might have to be more expressive faces or body language. I think it's going to have to be. And with generative AI, a robot could take on a character. Imagine a theme park where a humanoid robot dressed as a character interacts with guests, never breaking the fourth wall because it is the character. It doesn't have to take breaks. It's just constantly around entertaining people. So entrepreneurs will find opportunities in developing creative skill packages for such roles. For instance, a startup could specialize in making a robot barista, with a killer personality. And again, not subject to the political whims or the social whims of the barista behind the machine. So not only would the robot make coffees, but it would banter with customers and remember customers. These things can remember everyone's name. And then upsell pastries because it remembers all of your orders. Think about it. So now consumer behavior changes when a capable assistant is in the mix. If robots like Neo truly feel, if robots, if they truly free up time, people might spend that extra time consuming other forms of media. Maybe they're shopping or engaging with content. There's a concept in marketing that I've kind of embraced, and that's every time a time-saving device from laundry machines to dishwashers to Alexa has led to shifts in how consumers allocate attention. So if Neo gives people hours back each day, as one exclaims, a few minutes saved unloading the dishwasher here, 15 minutes folding the laundry there, whatever it is, gardening, whatever, those hours can be spent on leisure or media, which marketers would love to fill with their messaging or entertainment. Marketers don't screw this up. Conversely, though, having a robot might take consumers even more demanding of personalization. They're just going to want better personalization, and I don't blame them. If I'm used to my robot knowing my preferences, I'll expect other services to be just as tailored. It raises the bar for customer experience across the board. This is why everyone's going to have one, because I can't go. It's like, I get used to a certain level of experience at hotels. It's very tough for me to go to a 2-star hotel, for example, and feel satisfied. I'll suck it up for a little while. But for the long term, when I'm dealing with, brands, I'm going to want that tailored experience. That's just me, and I'm sure a lot of you are like me. There's also an interesting social angle. Robots might affect how consumers make decisions. A humanoid, for example, that's seen as knowledgeable and objective could become a trusted advisor, especially if you own it. So if Neo suggested a particular brand of vacuum bags for the vacuum, a homeowner might just go with it because it knows you. It knows what you want, knows that you need longer bigger bags because you're vacuuming more. And studies have found that people that can be heavily influenced by AI recommendations if they trust the source. Think about how many people take Netflix's suggested shows or Amazon's recommended products. I don't really, so I don't necessarily agree with the masses, but I would if it were coming from a home robot that could similarly sway our everyday choices because it's watching everything I do. So that means companies will need to consider robot optimization the way they consider SEO or voice assistant optimization. Will we see a day where brands vie to have the preferred robot skill for a task? Absolutely. Absolutely. For example, a company might create the best laundry folding skill on the Neo app, Store that optimizes how the robot folds their brand's clothing, maybe making them look perfect in their eyes anyway, and essentially a subtle brand touchpoint. We've all seen toilet paper at hotels where they turn it into a little swan or something like that. In service industries, robots could fill labor gaps and allow for new kinds of customer service. In restaurants, humanoid robots might take orders and even cook in simple terms. And cook items that are like, macaroni and cheese, whatever. Already some eateries use basic robot servers with those little kiosks on wheels that carry food trays. I've experienced that. It's pretty cool. It's just novel. It doesn't make it a better experience for me. It doesn't talk, but they're still pretty cool. They're experimenting with it. So think of a humanoid robot with arms and a personality that could chop veggies or stir a pot or mix a cocktail with a little bit of flair. We've all saw that movie in space where, God, I can't remember his name, wakes up and nobody else is awake except for the robot, the bartender. You guys all remember that. That's a possibility in the next 5 years. So from a business perspective, that could reduce costs. From a marketing perspective, it's a differentiation point. Come dine with us and meet our robot chef. It becomes an experience. You know, there might be a phrase, or there might be a phase anyway, where having a robot is a cool novelty that draws customers, at least until it becomes commonplace. And content creation-wise, beyond being content themselves, robots plus AI can aid human creators. A marketer or entrepreneur could use Neo as a brainstorming partner. Just imagine sitting across from it and asking it for 3 ideas and then going back and forth with each one. And since Neo knows you and knows your customers, it could be an interesting conversation. And, finally, there's a data angle. Robots in homes will gather loads of data on how people live. But for me, we've got to be able to respect privacy. That's paramount. But in aggregate, as long as this data has been scrubbed, and they do it already, folks, they're aggregating our data, but not at the home level, how you live level, all that kind of stuff. Imagine the data that can come out for us marketers. We should note, however, that the prospect of robots influencing consumer choices will attract lots of regulatory attention. Transparency, of course, is going to be the key here. And if Neo suggests a specific brand because that brand paid for that placement, the user should know. It's similar to how voice assistants have handled sponsored results carefully. So, in summary, for me, humanoid robots present a new frontier for marketers, for entrepreneurs, for data sources. This, combined with a skills app marketplace, this is going to be a brand new world. And this is just in the home. Think about in the workplace. Again, another show. But before we end this episode, and I know it's a long one, we have to talk about the limitations and challenges. Because, we get carried away with this kind of stuff, especially me. I know most people are probably afraid of this. These robots, like Neo, still face significant hurdles, and it's important for us, especially entrepreneurs, considering how to ride this wave, to know the challenges. First of all, there'll be technical challenges. The real world is messy and unpredictable, and even Bornich admitted that putting Neo in real homes taught them how hard it really is. The real world is so freaking hard, he says. So, you've got Wi-Fi connectivity, you got battery life, you've got Neo, who hasn't publicized this, but comparable robots that I've seen are 2 to 3 hours of work on a charge. That's, not really what you expect for a day helper. And how long will it take to charge it? Does it take a few minutes, or does it take a few hours to charge in a robot that lasts for 2 hours? And, then consider dexterity. And Neo looks somewhat dexterous, but still has limitations. Can it crack an egg without shattering it? Can it iron clothes or clean up a tricky spill? Probably not, right? But we know it's coming. Neo is the first generation, which is probably why I'm not going to buy Neo. I'll wait for the second generation. I'll wait for everyone else's robot to iron, pardon the pun, everything out. And then you got the cost and accessibility. Neo is $20,000 for early buyers with or a $499-month subscription. That's the price of a car. So are you willing to give up a car for one of these things? Generation 1, the Model T? I don't think so. That's not me. That's me. Let's see what everybody else does and works out first before we jump in. And for marketers, that cost factor means the immediate addressable market in terms of consumers when Neo's in their home is very limited. It's more like near-term uses might be in business context or public demonstrations where one robot serves many people. That's how you'd use the robot in your marketing. You wouldn't try to market through the robot to people that own the robot. Not yet. Don't even go there. Might start thinking about it, I guess, in the back of your head, but not going to happen anytime soon. And then you have another challenge around social acceptance and behavior change. And because introducing these humanoid robots to daily life is a big social experiment. Most people already feel uneasy or even frightened by these machines, even though Neo looks like a soft little big creepy teddy bear. But Who knows? I think we're definitely going to get used to it, just like we've gotten used to everything else. Every single technology. I remember somebody that complained because I had these things in my ears, these Bluetooth devices 15, 20 years ago. And he said to me, God, you think you're so cool. And I don't know what his problem was. But, I know there's a lot of people that are going to think that. Oh, you got this robot. What do you need a robot for? Just do the work yourself. But it's going to happen. Another big one is jobs. And, while Neo is pitched at helping consumers at home, believe me, the robots are coming for the workplaces. You saw Amazon, they're already using it in their warehouses almost without humans. And they just recently laid off 44,000 people. They claim for AI. Imagine when the robots come. They're going to lay off everybody in those factories. Why would they need humans? These things work 24/7. They don't complain. They don't need health insurance. Also, another big one, and I'll conclude with this. There's more, but, competitive and regulatory landscapes. A dozen of these companies are chasing the humanoid robots now. Not all will survive the shakeout. It's like the early auto industry. Actually, one of my best analogies I can think of. There are a lot of tinkerers, but eventually a few big winners. 1X has a head start in homes. That doesn't mean a thing in this space. Tesla is, hyping their integration with everything that they're going to do. Boston Dynamics in their tech prowess. There's others like Figure or Eptronic, who has partnered with NASA. They're all unveiling humanoids, so it could get competitive. Regulation, to me, is probably the biggest thing to look out for. They're going to have to, certify these home robots because there's a lot of safety considerations, data protection. Somebody gets injured, then what? Or if it knocks over an expensive vase or tips a candle and causes a fire, where does that liability lie? And these are all unanswered questions. And, attorneys are salivating to get involved in some of these things. But despite all these challenges, the momentum feels real. The next few years will be a critical proving ground. As Bornett said, success won't happen overnight. It'll be gradual, solving the simple, subtle, and surprisingly difficult problem of the real world. One reliable Wi-Fi connection at a time, he says. And, from my perspective, if Neo gets it right, even close to right, everyone's going to move up their timetables for when robots take over the jobs of today. And, the manual labor jobs of today, maybe some white collar because they're so incredibly smart. For me, this doesn't happen until we have AGI, artificial general intelligence. That just means they're as smart as humans on everything. And that's like from one context to another. They're just better and smarter than the smartest people. And then you have ASI, which is a total game changer, where they're creating their own knowledge, probably their own language, communicating with each other for efficiency. And that's a whole nother world. I cover this in my book, Agentized, if you really want to go deep on it. So some things to look out for as marketers, entrepreneurs, what have you. Keep an eye on adoption curves and public sentiment. The inflection point for these robots will be when they demonstrably save enough time or money to justify their costs. So we'll take a look at that. Be ready for innovation on the platform. Just like the smartphone, remember, they didn't have apps initially out of the gate. There was a lot of hype, but they didn't have apps. And when they added apps, the thing exploded. I'd also say prepare for a shift in consumer behavior data. These robots will generate a ton of data about what they're observing at the micro level. And so will that be used? Will it not be used? Will it be private? Will you be shared in this anonymous system? We're going to find out. And I just keep monitoring each of these companies and try to get involved if it makes sense for your business. Ethically, obviously, keep humans at the center. It's really exciting to see what's going to happen. I'm sure we'll see the first, robot boyfriend or girlfriend, as sad as that sounds. I'm positive we're going to see that. And there's all sorts of other ethical things. If you look at ChatGPT and some of the other LLMs, they tend to confirm what it is that you're thinking over time because they don't want to make you mad or piss you off. So we got to be very careful about that. So just keep your finger on the pulse of this industry and maybe get involved early. Go check one out. Go try one. I'm certainly going to do that. Just keep your ear to the ground on this one. So to wrap up, Neo and its peers are bringing in a new era. And as one article headline put it, invasion of the home humanoid robots is upon us, not as an alien invasion. for me. But it's an exciting innovation invasion, and you have to, like any new technology, adapt and learn and ride this wave and profit from this wave, and you'll find yourself with a competitive edge and definitely a less tedious life. Imagine what these robots could free up for us to do on a personal level, and on a business level, imagine what it could do. These robots could build homes and take care of the permitting and everything else while you're sipping a cocktail in Saint-Tropez. So that's it. This has been way longer than my typical podcast, but I think it's important for me to kind of lay it out there for you so that you guys can understand what's coming, what's here, and what to look out for.